right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. 4 reviews up this week, the first of which is a game called Rogue Robots. Right, so the Rogue has a dual name. You are playing a maybe Rogue Robot. It's more the framing in game is like you might be brainwashed or, you are led to believe that you are fighting off evil oppressors, but you might actually be the bad guy or the bad robot. I don't think it matters all that much.
Trucker hat.
Yeah. But the Rogue is also in reference to Rogue Elements, the probably most overplayed indie trend going on right now, which is impressive. I'm like, granted, about 10, maybe 12 years ago, the twin stick shooter, that was one of the most, if not the most, overplayed indie trends. There were a lot more. Yeah, there were a lot more twin stick shooters back then than there are now. And it's presented in the rogue-like context. That is to say that it's upgrade unlockables. In this case, that's robot parts. There are various side missions within a campaign run where you can go off to a supply depot and grab, there are 4 robot parts: the head, the right arm, the left arm, and no, actually there are 5: the legs and the body. And and there's a hierarchy. That is to say, you lose body parts in a certain order. For example, the head goes first. Then I think one of the arm, like the left arm or the right arm. It's like I could be messing up the order a bit here, but the point is, your health. When your health goes down, you lose a body part. And that continues on until you have no more body parts left. You do that, you get the game over. And various body parts have, various plus and minuses. You might have better armor but slower movement, vice versa, what have you. And doubly so, the weapons, those are your arm parts. Weapons aren't just measured in terms of power. There are several different types of weapons. Like there's a shotgun weapon. There's a whip weapon. There's a inaccurate rocket weapon, which is interesting to use and frustrating. Point of the matter is that's the stuff that you get to keep even if you die or complete the run or what have you. And in terms of gameplay, it's pretty bog standard twin stick shooter outside of the customization application here. It's like you are in a level, you shoot things, you progress. So it's it's Smash TV style. And honestly, like one of the weakest parts of the game is its environment design. Like, I hope you like streets and city levels, because that's what you're going to see a lot. Maybe a different flavoring of that, but yeah, it all tends to look the same. I suppose that's not too big of a problem, but it is a thing to keep in mind. Anyway, so the goal of each campaign run is to get through the various rings, let's say. It's like various areas that you have to go through in order to get to the core. And each campaign, you'll gain levels. And the more you gain levels, the more special attributes you can get independent of your body parts. Like more health, faster reload time, that kind of thing. That stuff can also come from body parts. And that's the stuff that resets every time you go through a campaign. Like I said, it's pretty standard rogue stuff, just applied in a unconventional manner. That's really how rogue elements work these days. If you're not doing it classically, you're applying it to some genre that you might not expect that to have rogue elements. It's something that we've covered on the show quite extensively. And, this isn't an exception to that rule. Anyway, basic level structure is, not only you go through the level, but you got to get through various gates, which even if you destroy, they take their time to open up. It's either like get through the level or you got to defend a thing while it's hacking, or something of that affair. Once again, really standard is the word that comes to mind in pretty much all aspects of this game, except for the bosses or the boss encounters. Like when I got to the core, tedious. This game didn't know how to make that last in a sustained manner. Like, mainly because it's a thing where I kept doing the same thing over and over again. There wasn't any variance. That's like, here's a hint to better boss design. When you are successful and the next wave comes, you have to have your boss encounter do something different or escalate or change the stakes. If you're doing the same thing 4 times, I guess that's challenged, but that's challenged by exhaustion. That's challenged by attrition. I do not personally consider that to be good challenge. Maybe that's a subjective thing, but my review, my subjectivity. So, yeah. I mean, I stopped playing because I grew bored of the boss encounter. That's not good. Anyway, in terms of graphics, looks okay. It looks like a budget PlayStation 2 game in terms of its actual, fidelity. Which, given that it's an indie title, that's fine. The graphics are fine. Really, not much more than that. Music, I really like the screen music, like the screen selection, the opening screen music, really nice techno beats. But when you get into the game itself, it goes and switches to very generic rock. Didn't understand that at all. Not just a shift to something that was less interesting, but a complete genre shift. Just something to note. Anyway, pricing. Ooh, so the game clocks in at a pretty hefty $16.99. Is that worth it? Well, that kind of ties into an aspect that I couldn't really review. That's to say that this game has 4-player co-op. Could not test it out, not only because we didn't have a copy, but the co-op is local focused. So that would have meant trying to do this via remote play together. And we've kind of sworn that off. But the option does up to 4 people can play this. I can't tell you what changes in terms of what happens when you have more people, but as in terms of a 1-player game, I'm like, I would say that this is too expensive by about $7. If this game clocked in at 10, it'd probably be fine. $17 is a strange price in general, but I don't think it's worth that much. And in terms of it as a game itself, it's fine. It's average. I'm just highly amused by the quotes used by the Steam page, like noting its previous game Spareware. Extremely simple game with limited mechanics and highly repetitive play. A shoot 'em up, no more, no less. I quickly found myself becoming bored. The presentation of the game is relatively basic. And I'll say with Rogue Robots here, they've definitely upped it a few notches, but I don't think they escaped that well at the end of the day. You know, unfortunate, but sometimes, an average game is an average game. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about Rogue Robots. Anyway, be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan will be reviewing a game called Castle Pals.